Welcome everybody to the FM Academy. This is Emory Brown with DB Services. We're going to go ahead and get started. Okay, so I'm just going to walk through a few housekeeping things. Before we get started, this broadcast is the FileMaker 16 tips and tricks. So a couple of tips and tricks that you can do with the new platform, kind of some of the most exciting things as highlighted by us here at DB Services. And I'll go through those right after this housekeeping. Awesome. It looks like I just got a note from the chat that the presentation is all good to go. So thanks for that. Let's see here. Cool. Okay. Hang on. Am I showing the right screen here? Looks like we're showing two screens. Please hold. All right. Thanks for that. All right. I think we're on the right screen now. So I got the demo here. Go ahead and jump into the slide. Awesome. Thanks, Chris. Okay. So we're good to go. All right. I'm going to give you a little background. This is the FM Academy, which is a consortium of 8 FileMaker Platinum level FBA members spread out across the United States. They're working together. We're working together to bring education to the FileMaker community through these webinars that are really targeted at providing knowledge and expertise to the community. So here's the list of the 8 partners. So I am Emory Brown. For those who don't know, I'm a senior technical project manager at DB Services. I'm certified in the last 6 versions, and I've been doing this for over 9 years now. I have a background in digital art, so a lot of what I do is kind of focused around design, doing a lot of project management now. A little bit about DB Services. We are a FileMaker Platinum partner. We're obviously a member of the FM Academy. We have a global presence in US, Canada, Europe, Africa, Asia. And our team is focused around adding value to businesses of all sizes. We publish monthly articles, monthly educational articles, along with some other articles every month. And many of these are featured in the FM newsletter. And you can go ahead and follow us at DB Services as our Twitter handle. Definitely can read more about us on the website as well. So let's see here. All right, so if you have a question throughout the course of this, and I see some people have already gone through to this, you can ask a question in your control panel for the GoToWebinar. So there's a little question section. Go ahead and type the questions in there. I'll try to get to as many relevant questions as I can at the end. If I don't get to your question for whatever reason, please just go ahead and send it to fba@dbservices.com, and we'll go ahead and take the time to get that answered. Okay, let's get started. Jump right into it. This is FileMaker 16, so whether you're a seasoned developer or just starting out, 16 brings new features that you're going to use every day to build more scalable, secure, and mobile custom apps. Personally, this is my favorite release of FileMaker that I've been around for. I've never been more excited to get my hands on a new release. There's just things that were previously not possible or only possible with third-party plugins. And now they're not only supported, but some of those things are quick and intuitive and easy to use and native. So FileMaker 16 is, just a note, it is the same format as the previous version. So there's no conversion necessary to go ahead and jump in and start using the new features. So no excuse not to be on the latest version. Today, we're going to look at what I consider some of the most exciting features for the FileMaker platform. So there's 9 features that we'll go over, and I've kind of split them into beginner, intermediate, and advanced. The beginner tips are really targeted to someone who may be newcomer to the platform or doesn't develop on a regular basis. So I've got 3 tips there that can just help you get up and running. I've got 3 tips for the intermediate crowd, those who have a couple years of experience or are trying to take their development skills to the next level. And then I've got 3 tips that are more at the advanced level for seasoned developers who are building apps every day and doing the hard stuff. So whichever group you're in, 16 comes packed with a lot of exciting features that will benefit whatever app you're building. So we'll walk through the basics of how to use each of these tips, and then hopefully inspire you with some use cases. I've got a lot of live demos and tricks that are not obvious just out of the box. Keep in mind, this is not a complete list. There's so much more out there that can be covered than I can cover in this single session. I've seen a lot of different media, from different providers, different consultants, people highlighting what they think the top 10 things are, top 8 things. And sometimes, sometimes there's not even the same 3 because there's just so many features in 16. Many of my demos today are going to utilize a FileMaker 16 solution called FM Quick Start. This is an out-of-the-box FileMaker template designed to quickly and easily create a custom application for your organization. We design and support it here at DB Services. It's available completely unlocked for free at fmquickstart.com. Obviously, you'll need FileMaker 16 to interact and develop the app and get the most out of it. We've put a lot of 16 features in it. For those of you who have downloaded in the past, it does have a full UI redesign with FileMaker 16. And almost every screen and script is already using 16 features. Okay, let's jump right into some tips and tricks. So the first beginner tip that I have here is going to be the layout object tree. This is the first thing you'll notice when opening FileMaker 16, and it's an all-new control window in layout mode. This shows the hierarchical list of all objects on the screen and offers many powerful controls to quickly find and modify objects. It doesn't really matter if you have 3 fields or 100 on the screen, you're going to get immediate mileage out of this feature. If it's not already open, you can see it in the top right next to edit or exit layout. You'll see it there. It's the layers icon next to the text. So if it's been closed or you can't find it, that's where you can launch it from. I'm going to go ahead and just demo that really quickly here. So this is FM Quick Start. I'm going to run a lot of my demos out of this, and I've got a couple more demo files as well. So I'm going to go into layout mode, and the first thing you'll see is the FileMaker Inspector, and you can see I don't have layout object tree open. So right here, I'm going to click this layers icon, and it's going to show the object tree window. So the power of this layout object tree really comes in when you start to either try to find things on the screen, like a field is on the screen, you don't know where. You can search for it in this object tree really quickly. So we can find the company field, and you can see I've got a label called company and a field called company. And if I still can't find this, like I'm not familiar with the solution, FileMaker will highlight it for me when it's selected in the layout object tree. So that's a really nice feature. But if it's highlighted, you still can't find it, there's a lot going on the layout. You can also click this little eye, and you can, that hides the object. You can right click and you can hide all the other objects. You can hide the objects in front or hide the objects in front and back. So you can use this to find it. So if I hide everything, FileMaker hides absolutely everything except the portal that it's in and then the object. And that can help you just quickly. Then you can go in and modify this. You could set up script triggers, edit the button. And then when you're ready to see everything again, all the layout objects are still there. FileMaker's just hiding them. You can click the little eye in the top right, and that shows everything again. So this is a really powerful feature. The other awesome thing you can do with it is you can take groups of objects, and FileMaker will expand and collapse them. So here you see this portal has all these other objects inside of it. You can expand and collapse those. I've got this grouped button as well. So this is a text object with a grouped script to it. You can then expand that in FileMaker 16 and modify just the object itself without ungrouping the button. This comes in really handy since I do have a script tied to this. If I ungroup it, FileMaker is going to forget which script was tied to the button. So with the layout object tree, you can just drill into that group, edit anything in the group, add hide conditions, add conditional formatting, whatever you want to do. And you can actually do that straight from the layout objects tree window. So that's a quick rundown of how this works and where the power comes in. Let's move on to the next feature. So iOS animations are also new in FileMaker 16. These give a wonderful user experience and are extremely easy to implement as a FileMaker developer. So what this means is when you're on iOS Go, you actually have a drop down here. When you go to layout, you can say what kind of animation you want to use. And this is for Go only at this time. It's only for mobile. And you can specify whether you want the layout that you're going to actually animate and slide in from the left or slide in from the bottom, or you got flip, zoom, crossfade. And this gives an excellent experience for Go. So let me go ahead and show you where that is in FileMaker. I'm just going to go out to my scripts workspace. And if I create a new script, just create a new script here and go do the go to layout script step. You can see FileMaker now has an animation that says, how do you want to animate this? And you can choose your options here, quickly test, and see how you want the navigation to work. So I've got a couple layouts on Go. Let me see here. I've got a couple layouts on Go. This is in FileMaker Quick Start. So if you go into the contacts, for example, I've got some iPhone-specific layouts. These are loaded into the solution for Quick Start. So you can look at these, and they do have animations. You see they don't show on desktop. They will show on mobile. And you can see when we go to the button, the navigation button, we got this nice little go to layout, and I'm doing a slide in from the right. So get your hands on this, go into layout mode, play around with it, and see how you like the new FileMaker iOS animations. If you've heard anything about FileMaker 16, you've heard about the card window. This is, if not, that's fine too. We'll take a look at it and how to set it up. But the card window is essentially constrained by and locked to the parent window. It has no Chrome, and it deactivates the layout behind it. So this is treated as a new window, and there are multiple use cases for this behavior. We see it all over the web as well. So this is an example in Quick Start of a pop-up card window. So here's a quick crash course. The card window is locked to the parent window. It doesn't need to be within the bounds of the parent window on desktop. On Go, it would. It's a pretty small screen, so it doesn't need to be inside the bounds on Go. But on desktop, you can actually have the card window outside of your parent window. So if you want to use that for notification, or there's some tricks you can do there. It does count as a separate layout, which is really powerful because that means it's a separate context. And then lastly, it can be positioned or moved with scripts, just like you can move and position standard windows in FileMaker. I'm going to show you where these are found. FileMaker didn't actually add a new script step for this. So if we just do a new window, you can see the style option. We have a document, a floating, and a dialog. Those are the old styles. They've added a fourth option for card. And this will pop up a card window. You can name it. And another new feature is you can specify what layout FileMaker actually loads the new window on, which means you don't have to do another script step to do a go to layout. You can actually have it pop up and already be on the layout that you want. You also have the option to dim the parent window or not dim the parent window. Either way, the parent window will be inactive. The user will not be able to click or interact with it until the card window is closed. And for that reason, there's also the option to include a default close button. You can also program your own close button with the close window script step. So once you've created the new window, all the steps that modify the current window, like close window, and then move, adjust, or move, resize window, will also affect the card window if it's active. Let me jump into Quick Start. I'm going to go back to my dashboard, and I'll show you guys a quick demo of what a card window looks like in action. I'm going to go to my invoices module here, clicking on invoices, and then we'll go down to this invoice right here from the 22nd. And you see here I can select products. So what this allows me to do is pull up a selector or a picker. These are really popular in database applications to relate data together. If I click that, you see I pull up a card window here. And just like I described before, this card window actually goes from the top of the screen to the bottom, taking full advantage of the real estate of my monitor. And it's outside the bounds of the parent window. Now it is still anchored to it. So if I move the solution, the card window goes along with it. I'll show one more example of a card window. So this is an invoice. If I want to add a payment, I can click this Add Payment button. And it'll pop up this card window that allows me to put in some data for this invoice. And I still have the context of where I'm at in relation to the system. I'm still on this invoice for Phase Walk Central, invoice 55, and I'm putting in a payment. So you get this nice contextual background information. It's dimmed out. And again, it's anchored to the parent window. So there's a lot of really cool use cases for this. You can use it for custom dialogues. You can use it for wizards. You can use it for anything that you need to have a lot of input on that you don't want to create a whole new window for. That's it for card windows. Move on to my next tip. Insert into variables. This is my first intermediate tip. All the insert script steps that could target a field previously in FileMaker can now target a variable to import the results into. This includes insert from URL, insert file, insert text, insert calculated result. and there's many more. So what this looks like in FileMaker is when you have the specify target dialog, you can choose a field as your first option, or you can go down here and select variable, put in the name of the variable that you want the result to be inserted into, and you can toggle between those two. This can be a repeating variable as well. So why is this a huge feature? There's a lot of benefits. It allows scripts to utilize the insert steps to execute independent of fields being on the screen. So there always had to be a field on the layout in the past, either requiring a separate development layout, which increases the database size, schema size, or you have to make sure that the field is never removed because your script is always going to be looking for a field. And if it gets removed by a developer or a power user, then your script is going to break. So being able to insert it into variables as a developer reduces the fragile nature of these steps. So some common uses of the insert script steps would be REST API calls that would be showcasing insert from URL. And then insert text is also another huge one, which can quickly be used to insert native code from other formats, such as AppleScript or HTML, while eliminating the need to comment out the code, the foreign code for the FileMaker calculation engine. So use this a lot in compiling HTML. I'm going to do a quick demo. So just let me demonstrate how this works with AppleScript. The same concept applies whether it's HTML, CSS, or another language that you're writing inside of FileMaker. But I'm going to demo it with this AppleScript. So let's go ahead and close this. Let's go to the dashboard. So I've got this nice little AppleScript here. And you see if I run it, it just does a nice little pop-up here. And it uses the Mac native notifications to create a little desktop notification for me. So this shows up in the notification center. It's pretty cool. If you want to have an event in your system, pop up a desktop notification, you can do that with AppleScript. So here's the script that I'm running. You see here I've got 5 lines of code and a nice little comment. And I'm using the insert text to create my AppleScript. So let me show you there's 3 ways to actually do this with Perform AppleScript. So Perform AppleScript lets you do native AppleScript where you can just type in here. So I've got this AppleScript that says display notification. I can put in the notification there. I can title it in quotes, and I can even tell what sound for the OS to play. Now, the caveat here is I've hard-coded in what the notification says. So if I wanted this to be a data-driven notification, it would be kind of difficult. I would have to do a calculated AppleScript. Now, calculated AppleScript, you select the other option. So I've written it here again as a calculation. And I just wanted to display, the logged in user full name. That's this field right here, Emory Brown. So I wanted to display that and have that be data-driven. So I created this calculation, but you can see here I had to comment out quotes. This has to be double quoted for AppleScript. So I've got this quote, and then I've got a backslash, and I'm commenting out the code, and it's kind of hard to read it now, and it's not like I just took a native AppleScript and wrote it. So what's the alternative? The alternative is going to be to insert to variables. So the first part of my AppleScript that's hard-coded is just display notification. So I put that into part 1 here. And then I've set a variable, contact name, and that's my data-driven variable, it's just the contact name. And then part 2 of my AppleScript is going to be the rest of what I want it to say. I've got a return character. I've written some other things in here. And I could kind of compile this AppleScript, however complex I wanted, into multiple variables. And then I just compile it all to one, concatenating them all together into my 3-part AppleScript. And then I just go ahead and run that. It's much easier to write this, and it's easier to go in and modify parts of it. If I wanted to change contact name to a different field, I can just go change this variable, and it's going to work out great. So I'm just going to demo this one more time. And you can see it does the pop-up there. So that's the power of inserting the variables. We no longer need the field. I've got another intermediate tip. This is a huge feature that seasoned developers will really appreciate. Prior to this feature, only the client FileMaker Pro or Pro Advanced could generate PDFs since server did not have a GUI interface. Over the past couple of years, FileMaker has completely redesigned the PDF engine, allowing the server to generate PDFs even without an interface to render. So this is new with FileMaker 16. You can run the save records as PDF step on a server. some of the use cases of this would be to create a server SMTP email with a PDF attached. This could be for automating the sending of a report. You can also use server-side PDFs for Android and custom web publishing, since you can create those PDFs on the web and then deliver it to the client with other operations such as insert from URL. So that's really, really powerful. And will save a lot of time for developers who are doing those automated reports. Okay, one of the iOS features that I'm most excited about is the configure region monitor script step. This is an iOS feature which exposes the tracking location services to your FileMaker Go apps. So for those not familiar, there's iBeacons, which are these devices that use low energy technology to alert devices when they come into proximity. iBeacons can be placed in locations or even carried by people, creating a digital way to detect a physical location. So as an example, in the 2016 developer conference, this was kind of showcased with a Pokemon Go type game where each speaker of the conference carried an iBeacon around, and then attendees of the conference could download the FileMaker app and track down the attendees, just like Pokemon Go, where you can kind of search to see if there's a speaker near you, and then you go ahead and collect all the Pokemon. So that's something you can do with iBeacons. You can do all sorts of cool things. You could put them in physical locations. A lot of the time, this is used in like security apps. If you've got someone who has to go through and do a certain number of security checks in a physical location, you can put an iBeacon in each of those places, and then the system can verify as each iBeacon is arrived at from the device. So iBeacons are extremely accurate down to meters, so they can detect when a device comes within, say, 4 or 5 meters of the iBeacon, and then you can trigger an event, create a log, do whatever you got to do. The other type of region monitor in FileMaker is the geofence. This is a radius around a set of geo coordinates on a map. So you can adjust the precision of this as well. It's much larger scale than an iBeacon. So in FileMaker, this is tracked by kilometers to the center point. So I've got an image here, kind of, you can visualize what the iBeacon would, or what the geofence would be like. So when the device crosses the fence, either coming or going, you can now trigger events and track the exact moment that the fence was crossed down to a certain precision. So the use case for this would be to automatically display contextual information. So if you arrived on site at a client, you could have FileMaker automatically know, based on the address and the geo coordinates, where you were in the world and pull up the client's information. You can automate on-site visit times. The limitation here, FileMaker actually continues to run and collect data when FileMaker Go is in the background. The only limitation is when the device shuts off and goes into sleep mode, the battery power actually starts dictating and the geofence features are going to turn off. So as long as the device is active, you can track these geofences very accurately, even if FileMaker Go is in the background. So I've got a demo for you of this today, and this is going to be a separate demo file. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and use Reflector. A lot of people like to know what I'm using to project my iPhone onto the screen. And I'm going to pull up my iPhone here. There we go. I'm going to go ahead and open FileMaker Go. So I've got this app called Location Monitor R&D. And that is essentially what this does is I've got 2 geo coordinates. I've got a home location and a work location. These are latitude and a longitude. And so I'm tracking 2 different geofences. And when I click the start button, FileMaker Go will tell me which geofence I'm in, and it will start to monitor and tell me if I leave the geofence, it will also trigger that. So I'm going to click start here. I have a little success dialog that just says it ran successfully. It's now monitoring work and home. Click OK. And it creates a log, so it knows that I'm now at work currently and I'm not at home. This is a really fun app that you can kind of test how geofencing works, get a feel for it. If you had this device in your car and you were driving away, again, as long as the device wasn't in sleep mode, it would automatically detect when you left work, create another log for that. Same thing when you arrived back at home, it would create that log for you as well. So this will be available as well. I'll go over that at the end of the presentation, how you can get your hands on this demo file. But there's a lot you can do here with the Location Monitor R&D step. Okay. I'm going to go ahead and jump into the advanced tips. So FileMaker 16 added a whole bunch of crypt and encode functions, as well as hashing functions. This set is very powerful and allows secure data storage, as well as secure communication with web services. Typically, when integrating with a web service, there is always a need to hash certain pieces of data for security reasons and transferring across the network. So FileMaker's added base64 encode. It's added a crypt auth code. This allows you to use binary HMAC hash algorithms such as MD5, SHA-1, SHA-256. This is going to be your bread and butter when doing a web integration. You'll use crypt auth code all over the place. You can also use crypt, encrypt, and decrypt, as well as base64 encrypt and decrypt. So there's different types of encryption methods to decrypt data and encrypt data. And then you can also do hexadecimal and text encoding as well with the new functions. So crypt auth code, like I said, I'm going to showcase this one because it will be a primary used function when you're doing an API integration or a web service integration. What it does is it returns a binary HMAC using specified cryptographic hash algorithm. So your options there, again, were MD5 and all the different SHA variants. So what you do is you put in the data you want to hash, you put in the algorithm, and you can also include a key, which is an expression or field to encode the hash with. So this encodes the hash, making it further secure because you need to know the key to create a similar hash. So I'd like to highlight, okay, so I want to highlight a few pointers here when using hashes, what the best practices would be. You typically want to use SHA-256 for secure purposes. You want to use this over MD5 or SHA-1. It's considered more secure because there's fewer collisions, which is a type of attack that can be taken against a hash. And a collision is essentially when two different inputs come out with the same hash, and that creates a security problem. Assault is, you also want assault unique to each user. An assault is just a string that can be appended onto the end of a value, such as a password. So you could have the user have their password, and then you would append assault on it, which could be just a random string of characters. And this would prevent a brute force attack unless your file is compromised and assault is discovered. Keyed hash is a similar concept. And so you can just put a key in instead of assault. You can just put a key into the FileMaker function, and that does the same type of a thing. For maximum security, again, you don't want to just have one salt for the whole application. You want to have it unique per user. Makes it a lot more secure. And just as a note, you only need to hash things once. Hash does not make it more secure if you hash it multiple times. I do want to note here down at the bottom, something that's commonly overlooked. FileMaker will return the data of the hash into a container, and then you'll want to retrieve that with get container attributes. You'll want to retrieve what the data is from that. Okay, my second advanced tip is going to be highlighting the JSON functions. This is the next set of new functions debuting in FileMaker 16. And FileMaker now has the ability to natively write and read JSON. This is another huge feature for integrating with web services, since most APIs today use JSON as their primary or sometimes their only form of communication. So what is JSON? JSON is JavaScript Object Notation. That's what it stands for. It's a commonly used language for REST applications. And the reason it's so popular is because it's lightweight. It has a slightly smaller character count than other similar syntaxes, such as XML. And it's much more minimal than XML as well, requiring a lot fewer English words. So this makes it more human readable as a language. So let me show you a quick example of that. I've got an XML string here at the top. So I just have tag, then I have my content, then I have the end tag. In JSON, it would just have 2 English words and actually 1 less computer character. So you can imagine over having a huge array of data, having 1 less character, and having those fewer English words makes the code a lot more readable for humans and computers. You get a big performance gain if you have 30, 40,000 characters in XML. JSON is going to reduce that significantly. So the JSON functions in FileMaker are JSON delete element. This allows you to remove an element from an array. You've got JSON format elements. This quickly makes it easy to read by inserting all the white space you need to read it. Then you have get element. This is going to be your bread and butter for reading JSON. You have two cool functions that can list the keys or list the values of a specific array of JSON or object, JSON object. And then lastly, you have JSON set element, and this allows you to create JSON from FileMaker data. I'm going to go ahead and demo this. The primary use of JSON arrays in FileMaker, in my mind, is going to be passing multiple script parameters. This problem has been something that's come up a lot in FileMaker development for seasoned developers. How do you pass in 3 or 4 parameters and then parse them out in your script? And JSON solves that problem. So let me give you a quick example here. If I run this sort script, you can see here I am passing in JSON as my script parameter. So in this case, I'm trying to sort by the first name column. And so I'm going to pass to my sort script. I've got a contact sort script. I'm just going to pass what field I want it to sort by. And I'm doing that with a JSON object. So then if I have multiple parameters, let's see if I have a good example of that. If I have multiple parameters, then you can see, that FileMaker will allow you to, or JSON will allow you to have more parameters in that object. So let me go in here. In layout mode, show that one more time. This is on the sort scripts, but pretty much every script that's run in Quick Start does create JSON of some kind as its script parameter. So I've got this optional parameter, and I'm using JSON set element. JSON set element, just for those who are not familiar, has 4 values. It has the JSON. So in this case, I'm using an empty JSON object. This behaves a lot better than just doing null. JSON does think that the double brackets, that counts as an empty object, and JSON will read and parse that a lot better than null. Then you can create the object or index path, and you can do this multiple times if you want. So you could create a bunch of paths, and then you put the value and the type. FileMaker has multiple types. This is the same thing as the data type to FileMaker developers. So in this case, I'm passing it in as a string. You could pass it in as a number or other data types. There's a lot to learn about JSON, but it really opens the door to integrations as well as multiple script parameters. So it's really exciting. Okay, my next advanced tip is going to be curl options. This is an even more cornerstone feature for integrations, even more so than JSON and Crypt, if you can believe that. On top of that, curl adds a lot of functionality completely outside of integrations, and we'll look at some of that today. So what is curl? Curl is a URL request library. That's what it stands for. It's essentially an open source project which provides command line interfaces for data transfer protocols. It's been around for a while. It includes commonly used protocols such as HTTP, FTP, IMAP, etc. In FileMaker, it's part of the insert from URL script step configuration, and it allows a specific curl library of functions. So FileMaker has its own library of curl functions that are supported. I imagine that will be expanded over time. There's a lot of curl options out there, and insert from URL is really where all the magic takes place. This includes setting and reading custom headers, which is the huge thing for integration. That was something that was only possible with third-party before, and now it's super simple to do in FileMaker. So this allows your complex API integration, and it also means that those are, since they're native, they're now available to you on FileMaker Go and FileMaker WebDirect 16. So these plugins, or sorry, the script step insert from URL and these API integrations now are open to the mobile and web deployments instead of requiring the server to do all the load. Today, I'm going to demo and show you the power of curl by uploading to an FTP server. FTP is merely one of the many protocols that the FileMaker curl library has. And FTP is typically, uploading to an FTP server is typically done for digital archiving or shared storage. So I'm going to demo that here. I've got a test FTP server right here that I'm connected to. Just got one folder in it called test. And I've got this nice little file here called FTP upload. In this demo file, we specify the server IP address and then the subfolder if I want to upload to a folder inside of my FTP site. I've got the username and the password. And then I can just drag a file here to upload. So I'm going to move this fmcloud.png into my uploaded file in FileMaker. and I'm going to click the upload button. So I get a little success dialog, and then you see here, I'm using FileZilla. For those who are curious, this is an FTP browser. And I'm just going to go into that test folder, and there you can see successfully that PNG was uploaded. So let's take a look at what that script looks like, how that works in FileMaker. Just going to go ahead and dive right into this script. You can see here I'm really only running one line of code, setting one variable, running one line of code, and then I've got some error trapping. So in this case, I've set the container file that I want to upload into a variable called file, and then I'm using insert from URL. And here I'm taking advantage of FileMaker 16 to put the result of my insert into a variable instead of a field on the screen. That means I have one less field in this upload file. And if we go to the options, we can see, so the target is the variable, and then the URL that I'm targeting is going to be the FTP : / and then I've got the username : the password. So you can pass this in as part of the protocol, the username and password, and then the FTP server and the file name. So that's my URL that I'm compiling. And here's where the magic happens. So the curl options are -t. This is upload file. And then I'm also passing the curl option -s, which is just show error. And that allows me to show the error. If anything fails, I can show the error. So -t and -s are called what's shorthand for curl. You can also do longhand. FileMaker supports that. So you could type it all the way out where you just type /, and then whatever the command is. This is very command line-like interface. And one of the really cool things that FileMaker supports in 16 is an inline variable. So you see inside of my string, I put $file, and that actually takes this variable and puts it into the calculation directly into the string. So that's something also new with these curl options. So again, this is one line of code, goes ahead and takes a container, uploads it to an FTP server, but there's so much more you can do with curl. It's kind of a language in and of itself. I've got one more bonus tip. I'd like to highlight that the FileMaker 16 now has its own RESTful API. This allows other web services to integrate with FileMaker, just like FileMaker can integrate with other web services. You can learn more about this powerful feature on our website, along with many other features that we did not have time to cover today. So in conclusion, FileMaker packs a huge punch for developers of all levels. We looked at the layout object tree, iOS animations, card windows, and there's so much more, and so much more to learn outside of what we covered today. If you'd like to get your hands on the demo files, you can go ahead and email fm16-demo@dbservices.com. And just submit an email request requesting that we send over location monitor demo and the FTP upload demo. So that was the one I demoed on my iPhone, as well as that FTP we just looked at. If you're interested in more learning, you can check us out at dbservices.com. And then you can go to articles, and we post articles every month. These articles include a free demo file and a helpful video tutorial with each technical article. I'm going to go ahead and jump into some Q&A here. See what kind of questions we got going on. Let's see here. I have a question asking if the JSON will break if you rename the field first name. So let's take a look at that quickly, how we wrote that JSON. It will not break if you rename the field the way that we've written it. So let's go back into here. So when I was passing this JSON sort, actually, I think the audience might be right here. This does look like it would break. So I'm not sure why that's in quotes. That probably should not be in quotes. Oh, no, I'm sorry. This is an object name, so that should be in quotes. Yeah, so this is a little confusing. We're passing in the field object name that I want to sort by for this particular script. It's calling for an object name. So yes, it will break if you rename the object name, but this is actually the object name of the field I want to sort by. It's not a field name. So it's just a string here, which is the same as the object name, and I'll show you that. It's this field here. And you can see I've got an object name called field : first name. So that's our naming convention. We always do the type in all caps, and then the name of whatever you want to name the object. So in this case, just the first name field. And this script is utilizing that object name. So if you changed the object name, it would break the parameter. But if you went in and renamed this field first name to something else, it would not actually break the code. So that answers that question. I've got a question here about iBeacons. It says, iBeacons are accurate within a few meters. Is there any way to get the location of the device within a much smaller range, say within a 1/4 inch? I'm not exactly sure on the exact precision of iBeacons. I know they are very accurate and they measure in meters. There are some security concerns if you could tell within an inch where a device was. So with an iBeacon, you typically just set the range that you want to come within a specific iBeacon, and iBeacons all have their own UUID that you're looking for as a user. I hope that helps answer the question. Reflector is a Wi-Fi screen share for iOS devices. I have a question here saying, can you save PDF into containers as perform script on server? So now that save as PDF is on server, save as PDF still requires a file path. And what you can do is you can save the PDF to, let's say you save it to the server temporary drive. What you can do from that point is you can actually use insert from URL to then insert that file path back into a container. So if you want to get it into a container with a perform script on server, you'll use 2 steps. You'll use save as PDF, save it off to a location on the drive, and then you'll use insert from URL, which has the capability to move the file from that location into a variable or a container. So that's what you can do there with FileMaker 16. I've got a great question here. Are card windows supported on WebDirect? Card windows are not supported on WebDirect. So the behavior with WebDirect actually with a card window is the same as older versions of FileMaker. If you do run that step, FileMaker will simply create a new window, or in WebDirect's case, a new virtual window within the browser. It will be on the current layout. So keep that in mind if you are designing for WebDirect or older platforms and you want to try to utilize card windows. The best thing you can do to make it backwards compatible is actually do a card window and then do the go to layout with the layout that they're supposed to show up, just in case the card window doesn't work out. Because I highlighted this before, but FileMaker's go-to layout, FileMaker's new window in 16 now has this using layout, current layout. That's new with 16. So if you use this in 15 or WebDirect where it's not supported, the layout will actually always default to the current layout. You won't be able to specify whatever layout the card window is. So what you want to do is you want to do the card window. Let's say we're popping up the data entry screen. Then you might want to do a redundant go to layout data entry screen, just to ensure that even on WebDirect, this will still create a new window. It'll just be a document window instead of a card window. And then you'll make sure that they're still on the same layout. And it should behave pretty much the same. Always test it, obviously. Yeah. Get into the card window. Question, it says, can the dimmed parent window be assigned as a button? I'm not sure what that means. Let's see what the more questions here. Can you send multiple PDFs via email? Currently, FileMaker does not support multiple attachments on send email. So I have a question. Can you run FM16 apps on FMS FileMaker Server 14? You can connect to a FileMaker 14 server with FileMaker 16 clients. They are compatible. They are the same file format. So obviously, the FileMaker Server 14 won't have the features that 16 has. Then I definitely recommend having the server on 16. I don't think there's any reason to keep it on 14. Any ideas for centering a card window that has been adjusted after going to a different layout within the card? That's a great question. The answer to that is actually FileMaker will center the new card with the current window. So by default, it will be centered. And you can see here, I hope you can see that there's some really light placeholder text that will tell you the height and width of the target layout once you select it. So whatever that is, FileMaker will default the card window to that layout size, and it will actually center that within the parent window. If the parent window is bigger, it'll automatically center it. So you don't have to do anything there. If you want to, you can put values into this position, top and left, and then it can be wherever. But by default, if you leave these blank, FileMaker will center the card window. So it's a really nice behavior of FileMaker card windows. I got a couple of people asking here if we can post the email again. So absolutely. The email to get the demo files is going to be fm16-demo@dbservices.com. And we'll go ahead and send out the location monitor demo and the FTP upload demo. If you want to download Quick Start, you can simply go to fmquickstart.com and download it from our website. There's a simple form you fill out. It's free to download. It's fully unlocked for development. Okay, I think that's it for today. It looks like I got to most of the questions. Again, if I didn't get to your question, please email. Go ahead and email us at fba@dbservices.com. We'd be happy to answer the question. Thanks everybody for joining, and hopefully see you guys soon.